Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, all praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our creator, who bestow his divine grace and love for us to continue our life and continue our work. Alhamdulillah, through our Khalifa Education Foundation and Post-Islamic Psychology Center, we are trying to bring about a change in the Ummah towards a progressive, a modern, transcendent Ummah that is based on Islamic motivation, coaching, mentoring and counseling. And we are training, inshallah, over the next 10 years, 12,000 PIP life coaches all over the world. And you can get your certification very easily by doing only 30 PowerPoint of the 600 videos, select it according to your need, and then serve the Ummah, serve your community, and do your maybe master's, PhD studies and so on in post-Islamic psychology and the various areas that we have uploaded as our da'wah. So what is important as we face this existential question of the very existence of human civilization in the 21st century, we Muslims must be the forerunner of a transformational, positive transformational movement that we try to shift ourselves from a greedy self to an integrated self, fulfilling our spiritual, emotional, mental and physical aspects or domain at the highest level with Iman, Islam and Ihsan. Then we bring our family, and then we bring the Ummah towards this heart of love, and then we bring the global society towards this heart of love, so that inshallah over time we can bring about first a transformation of the Ummah, secondly acknowledgement of the Muslims being positive people on this earth, of people who are respectable, people who are not despisable, people who brings about greater cohesion, love, mercy and compassion, not destruction and not evil doers or terrorism. So what is important is this Islam heart of love. Inshallah, I'll do as many videos as possible to bring back to the root cause of this deen. This deen is a deen of love, and Allah tells us in Al-Quran, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبٌّ لِلَّهِ. Those who believe in Allah, they are intense and overflowing in the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what Allah tells us. So love from the perspective of the creator and the created is mutual. That means Allah infuses in us this whole desire and yearning for the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and in return He shower us with His nur, His light and His love. So it is just not a one way. For example, rahmah, mercy is from Allah unto us. Without His breath of mercy we would not have existed. So His mercy is from Him, His sifat of mercy, Rahman Rahim, bring us about our very existence. But it is of this divine love that we can reciprocate, so that we can have this mutual relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the state of peace, tranquility, happiness, fulfillment, achievement, success, all that we desire, that is infused in the heart of love that He has endowed upon us, upon our cup as a loci of our control. Inshallah, we'll get more detail into that. So I've explained to you how this degeneration of human civilization now, as we know today, from traditional primordial civilization which acknowledges the creator, God, in whatever form, in whatever names, because all beautiful names belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can call Him Brahma, you can call Him Yahuwah, you can call Him Tao, you can call Him whatever that you want to name Him, but He tells us His proper name is Allah. That is His proper name, and He manifested all this being, all this existence as a manifestation of His will, His desire to be known. So this atheistic materialistic lifestyle of this 20th, 21st century is just very short, and in this short period of time we are destroying ourselves through climate change, through moral degeneration, through social degeneration, through so many of the evils that we are inflicting upon our very existence. And if we are not careful, we would be the last of the human species on this beautiful earth. So what we need to do is to bring up to a second level, and in my previous video I explained to you of many people who feel this emptiness in their life, that they are spiritual but no religion. And for them, all religion is the same. It is pluralism. That is a progression. All right? So we have to embrace those people because they have moved from atheism and meaninglessness in life to a meaningful life, to a spiritual life. But they have not discovered Islam. So if they have not discovered Islam, then it is our duty to show the beauty of this deen. Just like our brother, Professor Mahdi Jenkins, all right, Muhammad Mahdi Jenkins, he is an atheist. Professor was a hardcore atheist. All right, this man, he passed on already, he wrote this book. All right, and he discovered Islam to a very torturous, difficult way of moving from atheism to being a hippie, from a hippie being a Buddhist, from a Buddhist being a Hindu, from a Hindu trying to search the spiritual traditionals of the world, and finally coming back to Islam within the framework of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and serve his life developing this Khalifa method and post-Islamic psychology as a way forward for the Ummah. This is his contribution. All right, but he started with spiritual but no religion. That means he started here and then he moved here, and then he tried to discover which of all the ism can bring us the fulfillment of the destiny of humanity at the ultimate level in relationship to themselves and to the Creator. And finally he discovers Islam and live and die as a mu'min and a Muslim, striving to do good, striving on his own, striving to make himself good, helping others to be good, and making the world as a servant and a Caliph of Allah. So this is where we have to bring about a progression of the human progress. And then we have another level which can be at this level here or at the lower level. I'm going to discuss with you. There are practices of formal form-based Islam, but there are this group of people who have no ihsan, no mercy, no love. All right, and this falls into many categories, but I'm going to show you how this group of people, if they are non-violent and they are practicing it within themselves, being harsh within themselves, that is their problem. We still can categorize them within the framework of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. But if they become terrorists, aggressive, murder, killing, enslavement of Yazidi girls, raping and doing all kind of nonsense, then they are worse than the atheists, because they are not only destroying themselves, but they are destroying this beautiful deed with their evil doing. So I'm going to explain to you how this degeneration takes place. All right, if we look at the modern root cause of degeneration of the Ummah, this Ummah, Islam is forever never degenerated. Now, Allah has willed upon himself that this deen will be safe and will continue existent until Yawmul Akhir, until the last days, when Allah ordained upon the end of this earth. We as Muslims will still be there, all right, in whatever challenges that we have to face. But the generation of the Ummah, modern Ummah, we can trace back quite some historical context in terms of the degeneration of the Osmaniyah, the Turkish Osmaniyah Caliphate. They start degenerating in the 16th century, 17th century. Then we have this whole wave of colonization by the West, the Portuguese, the Dutch, the British, the German, the Belgium, all of them from Europe. They start colonizing Africa, Asia, America, Latin America, and that's where this heavy upheaval in terms of oppression, of slavery, of murder, of killing, of senselessness, based on this idea of the superiority of the white man. And up to today, this ill effect of this understanding that if you are a white man, you are superior to the black man is still intact in the psyche of a lot of people. All right, so this is the root cause of the problem that we face in the 17th to 20th century. Then we have within the framework of what happened there, the huge war, the First World War, the Second World War, resulted in more than 100 million people in the West being killed. And then they have this upheaval, and this upheaval brought about socialism, nationalism, Marxism, communism, and then neoconservative capitalism that we are living now. So this whole movement towards this ism in terms of political strength affect the Ummah. And we have early in the 19th and 20th century, we have such leaders within the framework of Islam. They try to integrate Islam with Marxism. For example, Islam with socialism. For example, we have Rashid Reza, we have Sheikh Muhammad Abdu, we have, for example, in some continent, all right, others. So they are bringing this idea of socialism, but with the flavor of Islam. And this is where I think is a very, very big challenge, because when you bring a foreign destructive ideology, you try to label it into Islam, you have a problem. So that's why you have this whole idea of nationalism that affected Iraq, Syria, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Lebanon, you name it. The whole Muslim world is broken into pieces because of nationalism, and today is even broken into more pieces because of tribalism. All right. So if you study the history again, you go to another level, then the British or the colonial uses Islam, especially Wahhabism and DIY. What I call DIY, this is do-it-yourself Salafism. And there's a lot of this so-called DIY sheikh. You can find them on YouTube, you can find them on Facebook. They're cursing one another, they're calling this guy a kafir and the other guy not a kafir and whatever it is. And there is this degeneration of the whole ummah. All right. So the root cause of all these issues that we are facing today in the 21st century and beyond this ummah is all these things. So how are we going to tackle and how are we going to embrace them? How are we going to resolve this issue? Because from Wahhabism, DIY Salafism and tribalism, like right now, it's being played out in Yemen, it's being played out in Libya, it's being played out in Syria. They're killing each other. They're tribal. So it is the Jahiliyah of the Arabs prior to the coming of our Holy Prophet, our beloved Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We are playing back this whole thing, but with a label. Oh, these are the Houthis, these are the another group, this is another group. And they're killing each other. Now with modern weapons, with rockets, with guns, with drones. This is sheer madness. And if we do not realize this sheer madness, we are actually being part of this degeneration of this ummah, this beautiful deen. So when you have that, then you have groups that are coming on along the way. So you have, for example, within the Salafis, they are broken into many hundred bits and pieces, because one sheikh will say, oh, this is the fatwa, this is a literal interpretation of the Quran and the Sunnah. If you practice, you are in our group, you are not, you are kafir. So they have this takfiri Salafist, which is part of Daesh, all right, Taliban, Shabab movement and so on. So they kill, murder, rape, enslavement, do whatever they do. And they label that Islam, which is actually a curse upon them, because these are the worst perpetuators of evil that ever saw. So they are even worse than if we talk about atheistic, materialistic civilization, these takfiri are even worse than them. We should classify them as animals, not as human beings, not as Muslims, but they are destroyer and the destruction of this deen. So we have to embrace them and bring them over to a formal based Islam, which if they go back to this idea, they are non-political Salafis, all right? They are passive Salafis. They just lead their own life, believing in their very harsh way of Islam as Islam. There's no problem. They can be part of the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. They're very harsh. Their women are being oppressed. They have misogynistic message in terms of men being the controller of everything and woman is just put aside. They make their women put hoods, cover themselves up, as if the external form is the most important form of Islam. That is their way of life. Khalas, that is what they want to do. But they are non-political, they are non-violent. They are living it, their life, which they interpreted as a way of expressing their Islamicity. We have no problem with that. We have problem with the takfiris and we have problem with the political Salafis. Because these political Salafis, they are aggressive, they are thinking there's only one worldview, and then they are thinking that all other worldviews within the framework of Islam is not acceptable. So our heart, we must expand. I remember when I say all these things, not because out of revenge, but these are historical contexts that we must within the Ummah realize. This is a reality which I'm just summarizing it over the last 500 years, what has happened to this Ummah. And how are we going to overcome it? Inshallah, I will explain to you in the next video, and how we as Muslims open our heart to accept all strands of the framework within Islam, within the framework that, for example, our ulama at University Al-Azhar, they have the Al-Azhar Declaration, they have the Amman Declaration, where more than 200 of our scholars accepted all variants of Islam in the way of a loving, tender kindness Islam. That will be a beautiful deen for us to follow, inshallah, in the future, as Islam on the heart of love, inshallah.